next thing is the body material, which is a mix of seeds fur and light bright. Whenever you put any sort of dubbing on, some people just wet their fingers and do it like that. I'd always use a bit of wax, tying wax, because it just helps to stick the dubbing, just help easier to work with. Another wee trick I did there was, before I actually went up, I waxed the thread and actually started at the middle and worked my way back. And what that actually does is, it also just helps to make the body slightly stickier. It just makes it easier to work with. So you just get your, this is the bit of seeds fur and light bright mix that I had that I created earlier. And light bright again is a great material. It just gives that wee bit of sparkle. This is Spirit River. You get different brands, but I find that one very good. And as I say, the seeds fur, lots of different types of seeds fur, but I think Frankie McPhillips is the stuff I use, and I find it very good. Some of the seeds fur you find is quite coarse, and it's just difficult to actually dub, whereas I always find that very good. So that's just what I use. So now we've got our dubbing mix, and basically what we want to do is just create a rope of dubbing. So you put that onto the tying thread, trying not to spear yourself as I've just done on the needle. So you create that thread like a rope, dubbing rope, and then you're just winding that on just onto the body, and as you go, just keep always just turn it one way to keep it nice and neat. And then put some more wax on, and then a little bit more of the dubbing. And you're just using a little bit at a time just to create that dubbing rope. And then as we come near the head of the fly, we sort of slope that down. We don't put as much of the actual dubbing in, because if you had a very sort of almost like a bump or a very abrupt change between the tying thread or the base of the fly and the dubbing, it would actually it would flare the wing up. Whereas if you actually taper it down, it'll lie nice at a nice angle across the body of the fly, which is what you want. And you can flay that out a little bit there like that. Again, it's quite interesting that this fly has got a seals fur body. Whenever Ross was sort of over here, we fished together in Ireland, and he was always impressed with the Irish flies, the Irish shrimp flies, and a lot of them have dubbed bodies. And he liked the sort of silhouette that they created, so he's taken that sort of idea on our theme on board, and he's actually incorporated that into his flies, both the Calvin shrimp and also the park shrimp. So it just shows a nice sort of nice idea. And basically what we're just doing is just putting the rib in around about sort of 4 turns, and then tying that off. And as you can see, that's it gives a nice nice effect. And then we'll just do our half hitch. So you see, that's, if there's any very long, I mean, you want to sort of create a fairly straggly body, but if there's particular bits of the seed fur that are very long you don't like, you can just take those off. So that's ready to go. Now we want to put in the wing, and as I say, the wing is fox, and yeah, fox is a good material. You can get it from various places. This one here, I think this is maybe Cook's Hill, or Sue from Foxy Tail also has some tremendous huge selection of fox. So you can get those from suppliers. I think Sue's actually on the salmon forum. But basically, just select a part of the fox. And what I like to do is I like to use more of the under fur around the guard hair. So I just strip the guard hairs out, which is what I've done there. And also, I don't know if you can see, but I've also tapered tapered it slightly so it's longer at the top, and you can do that by literally just pulling these bits here so it's sort of tapered, and that's us ready to go in with the wing. It's just a wee touch much in that wing, so I'll just take some of the material out. You don't want it too full. The other thing to remember with these soft materials, they look quite a lot when they're dry, quite bulky, but you just need to remember in the water that they'll actually condense down, get compressed down. So we basically tie our wing, and you want to sort of tie it so it comes roughly in with the, mixing in with the magenta, and that's just like that, so we just tie that in. So as you can see, it just sort of lines up nicely. So that's us. Tie that and then just cut that off. Again, just our half inch. So the next thing we're going to be doing is putting in the jungle cock eyes. And jungle cock are quite expensive, so we don't want them to be coming out. So again, I just put a wee bit of wax just to help bind them in. And as I say, I've got jungle cock, again, relatively expensive. You get different qualities. This one's a reasonable quality. And what you want to do is select two eyes of the same size. Normally what you do is one from here and one from this side, so as you have a matching pair. As I say, I've already prepared some of these so as we can tie them straight in. Different ways you can tie jungle cock. I like to tie them in just for speed. I just tie them in at the one go, at the one time. So just slip them in like that. A couple of wraps up at the top. Again, you can just tie them off there, or what I like to do is actually bend them backwards. So you're binding the stalk in, and it just means they're never actually going to be able to go anywhere. That's them locked into place. That's us ready to go. So, nearly finished. Last thing we want to be doing now is to put in the two hackles, and just do a whip finish before that, just to make sure those don't come out. And the hackles we'll be using two colours of hackle. I've got an orange cock hackle, and then followed by a badger. So we'll just choose a feather on here, and we've got the orange cock hackle first. What I do is I like to measure before I actually take the fly, or take the hackle off. We want it to sort of be coming roughly the same length as the hook. So that one's about right. And then just to prepare, again, there's different ways you can prepare a hackle. I like to strip off the parts, the surplus bit that you don't need. So do that at the end, and then the other end I like to do is just to again cut off the bits there like that. Don't know if you can see that there. But so I stripped off the excess fibres you're not going to use, and then at the top here I just also cut just the fibres each side. And what that actually does is that helps to bind it in when you're to lock it in when you're actually tying them in.